Welcome to this Colorado Rising Signature Gathering training. We're very glad to have you here. Thank you for your help collecting signatures for Colorado Rising. Together, we will protect Colorado's communities from fracking. In this video, we will cover the basics of how volunteers should collect petition signatures. First, we will talk about the intended audience for this video, then we'll go over who can circulate a petition. Next, we'll talk about some Circulator do's and don'ts. We'll make some suggestions about what to take with you and where to go to collect signatures. Next, we'll look at the petitions themselves and how signers should fill them in. And finally, we'll give information about how to get your petition notarized and where to turn in completed and notarized petitions. Then, if you're watching this video at an event or a house party, we encourage you to do some role play as practice, discuss what you've learned in this video, and ask any questions before you adjourn. So let's get started. Just to make sure we all know why we're here today watching this video, the petition that we're circulating is a statutory initiative which would require 2,500-foot buffer zones between new oil and gas operations and occupied buildings like homes and schools, as well as vulnerable areas like playgrounds and water sources. The intended audience for this video is any volunteer who wants to help Colorado Rising gather petition signatures. And we're assuming that you've already been through part 1 of an in-person volunteer activation training or watched either the Colorado Rising basic training video or the house party video. You will need to have seen one of these introductory parts to fully understand the background on fracking and the intention behind our initiative. They lay the groundwork for the second part, which is this signature gathering video. Before we continue, let's first make sure that everyone watching has been given 2 handouts. One is called Collecting Signatures for the Colorado Rising Campaign and has our logo at the top. The other handout is called Colorado Rising FAQs. You'll need to follow along with these during the video, so if you don't have these handouts available, please pause the video and download your copy from the 2 websites listed here in yellow. Okay, so let's get started. There are several rules to follow when circulating a petition, and it's important to pay attention to them so that the work you do to collect signatures is legally valid. The first of these rules is about who can circulate a petition. You must be at least 18 years old and you must be a U.S. citizen. You also have to have a valid Colorado form of ID with your current address listed. So if your driver's license is expired or lists the wrong address, you need to update it before collecting signatures. If you don't have a Colorado ID, other things like a U.S. passport work. Also, a utility bill, bank statement, or paycheck is fine as long as it shows a Colorado address for you and was issued within the last 60 days. There are other acceptable forms of ID. Besides these, please see the FAQ handout for a complete list. Here are some general do's and don'ts for collecting signatures. We covered the first one already, which is, please follow the rules. Next, please learn about the initiative before you head out to collect signatures. That way you're prepared for questions. You can refer to the Learn More page on our website. You do need to have your petition notarized before you turn it in. We'll cover more details about notarizations later. You also need to return your petitions promptly, so as soon as you're done with one, turn it in. The reason for this is that our office does a signature verification procedure that takes time. So if you've completed most of a petition or need to take a break from gathering petitions for a little while, turn in what you have, even if all the signature lines are not filled out. Okay, here are some of the don'ts. Do not sign your own petition. Do not let anyone else collect signatures on your petition, even if that person has also received signature gathering training. Your petition is for your use only. That being said, you must not make any marks on the petition yourself. You may not correct a typo or change a signer's information. You may tell the signer how to fix a mistake, but you must not tamper with their information yourself. Don't take apart the petitions and restaple them. Be gentle with your petitions because you may not repair them. Restapling them invalidates all the signatures you've collected. And the last don't. Do not circulate any other petitions at the same time. If you're gathering signatures for a different initiative, you have to do it separately from ours. Here are some things that you'll want to bring with you every time you go out to collect signatures. These are all listed on the Collecting Signatures handout. You must have a name tag that says in bold lettering, Volunteer Circulator. Take a few petitions and clipboards with you so that multiple people can sign petitions at the same time. The petitions must be filled out in pen and only blue or black ink is allowed. Here's a little tip. Tie a string to the clipboard and tape the string to a pen so that everything is handy. We are printing some literature that explains the initiative. You can hand it to signers who want more information. Print out a few of these email sign-up sheets and clip them in the back of your clipboard for any signers who want to be added to our email list. Bring your smartphone to sign up supporters. We'll explain how to do this later in the video. And be prepared. Bring water and a snack. Here are some suggestions about where to take your petition to collect signatures. Your city and team leader will likely have ideas. Also, if there is a Colorado Rising office in your area, we ask that you check in with them before heading out for the day to prevent overlap with other signature collectors. The best places to gather signatures are anywhere there are large numbers of people who are likely to sign. Try farmers markets, festivals, concerts, and outside libraries. Grocery stores and coffee shops are good places too, but be sure to ask a manager's permission first. Also, be sure to ask everyone in your personal network to sign your petition. This includes family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, classmates, etc. You may also take the petition to meetings, but be sure to personally witness each signature. Don't just pass it around a crowded room. Here are a few more rules to follow. Like we mentioned in the last slide, you must remain with the petition while people are signing it. Don't leave it on a table and walk away. Ask each person before they sign it if they are a registered Colorado voter. Don't let them sign it if they're not. When the signer first begins to write, remind them to write clearly. Many signatures are thrown out when the Secretary of State can't read the handwriting. Check to be sure that the signer lists their residential address. P.O. boxes will be thrown out, so have them redo it with a street address. If a signer wants to read the ballot language, let them. Double check that the signer has used the correct date. Before the signer walks away, make sure that all the boxes are filled out and completed correctly. This picture is to show you what the petition will look like. Each page has room for 8 people's signatures. Each signer must complete the entire signature block. The signature block is made up of 2 lines. Each signature block is numbered at the left side. Here's what a signature block looks like when it's filled out correctly. The signature block is completed in cursive handwriting. The rest of the boxes are printed. The handwriting is easy to read and all the boxes are filled in. Here are some things you'll want to watch out for. Many people write the country instead of the county. You can help check for this and ask for corrections if the signer makes a mistake. Many people write the wrong date, so you can mention the date to remind them while the signer is filling out the box. Make sure that people do not use ditto marks. All boxes must contain the written information. Encourage people to write neatly and stay within the lines of the boxes. We all know that mistakes happen, so this slide shows what to do with small mistakes like typos. And remember, the signer must make these corrections. You, the circulator, must never write on the signature pages of the petition. The signer should make a single line through the mistake, write in the correct information, and then write their initials next to the change. You can see here that the signer wrote the wrong apartment number by mistake. To fix it, he crossed through the incorrect apartment number, added the correct apartment number, and then wrote in his initials next to the correction. So when there is a large mistake, here's what to do. The signer should cross through the entire block where the mistake was. Cross out both lines in the signature block, move down to the next block and start over, filling out this block instead. You can see in this example that John's mistake was writing his country instead of his county, and he also made a mistake with the date. So to fix these problems, he crossed out both lines of the first block and used the next block instead. When in doubt, just ask the signer to cross out the mistakes and use a new block. Every once in a while, a disabled or illiterate person will want to sign, but needs help. It is okay for them to receive help, but the help cannot come from you, the circulator. Someone else besides you can write in their information. Here's how. First, ask the disabled person to make their mark in the signature box. In this example, the person made an X as their mark. Then the assisting person who is helping the disabled person writes in the rest of the disabled person's information in all the other boxes. Finally, the assisting person must write in their own information in the same boxes, as you can see that Amy Assistant did here in parentheses. If you've got all these rules under your belt and are feeling comfortable collecting signatures, here's something else to try. Please only do this if it's not a very crowded place where you're collecting signatures and you have enough time in between signers. Sometimes signers are not sure if their voter registration is current. You can look them up on your smartphone or tablet. To do this, it is best to bookmark this page, www.tinyurl.com/COSOSREG, on your device before you head out. This website will allow the signer to check their voter registration address and name. They can even update their registration using this page. If the voter's registration is up to date and correct, make sure that they sign your petition exactly as their voter record shows. By doing this pre-check, you help keep our accuracy rates up and fewer signatures will get thrown out. But only do this voter lookup step if it does not slow your ability to get signatures from other people. Here is another way for circulators to help. Sometimes signers become really excited about our initiative and either want to volunteer or donate or start getting our emails. You can either collect their information on your smartphone or tablet, or you can use a paper sign-up sheet. Whichever method you choose, you can use the web address listed here to get the materials you will need to do this. We are also printing flyers with our contact information that circulators can hand out if recording people's information online or on paper takes too much time. Wow, that's a lot of information. Well, we're almost finished. We just have a couple more things to go over. So you've just collected a bunch of signatures. Now what do? The next step is to get each petition notarized and then turn them all into Colorado Rising. Now we'll show you how. This notarization step can be a little tricky, but it's absolutely required for the signatures to count, so let's learn the rules so we get it right the first time. Each petition has to be notarized on the last page. Don't write anything on the notarization page until you're instructed to do so by the notary. Do bring valid current Colorado ID with you when you visit the notary. Other forms of acceptable ID were discussed at the beginning of this video and can be found on the FAQ handout. Your team, city, and regional leaders will do their best to schedule notarization parties in your area where free notarization services will be available. You can also pay a small fee to get your petitions notarized at most FedEx, UPS, and local banks. Before you leave the notary, do look over the notarization to make sure that there were no mistakes made. Especially check to make sure that all dates and names match and are correct. Check that the notary stamp is clear and current and that all lines are filled out. The last step is to turn in your notarized petitions to Colorado Rising. Petitions are signed out to you by petition number and signed back in when you return them. This helps us track their location and get them returned for processing. It is important to safeguard your completed petitions and ensure that they are returned securely to regional, city, or team leaders. If there is a Colorado Rising office in your area, you may turn in notarized petitions there as well. We also will organize mobile teams of Colorado Rising volunteers to notarize and pick up petitions. In certain extreme circumstances, if you are unable to return petitions by any of the methods discussed above, it may be possible to mail back completed and notarized petitions to Colorado Rising. Of course, these signatures are very precious, so we do not really encourage mailing them back. Here are a few questions that are asked a lot, so we'll just save everyone a bunch of time and give you the answers now. You may not promise or give anything of value in exchange for a signature. This is considered bribery. Also, you should not let someone who has already signed a Colorado Rising petition sign again. It is worth spending some time to clarify with the signer and make sure that the signer has truly signed our paper petition and not gotten this confused with our online pledge to sign. a person may only sign the paper petition once. And finally, we have to mention the very rare chance that you'll encounter someone who is angry with you or wants to argue. Just be polite, and you can say, "I appreciate you sharing your perspective." You can also just walk away. If someone seems aggressive or if you feel threatened, you should move to a safe location. You can also call 911 if you need to. Afterwards, please let Colorado Rising know what happened so we can decide what to do. We want to reassure you that it's very unlikely that you will have this kind of experience. And remember, it is your right as a citizen to collect signatures without feeling intimidated. This possibility is very rare, and now you're prepared in how to handle the rare case if it were to occur. So now that we've covered the basics, let's finish up with a few suggestions. Before you leave this training or house party, it might be helpful to practice what you plan to say when you ask people to sign the petition. If you like, do some role playing with other people and take turns perfecting your ask. Then you can ask the event organizer any questions you may have. If you get home and realize that you still have questions, you can email your team, city, or regional leader, or you can also email Colorado Rising. We encourage you to keep your two handouts nearby, the Collecting Signatures handout and the FAQ handout. Refer to them even after you've been collecting signatures for a few weeks so that you can keep the rules fresh in your mind. And finally, here are some suggestions for what you can do later on as a more experienced signature collector. Look over the handouts to make sure you're still following the rules closely. Check in with your city or team leader to learn about the notarization party schedule. You can also coordinate with others in your area so that your team of signature collectors adequately covers big events where lots of signers could be gathered. And finally, get those completed petitions back to us promptly. Congratulations! You've completed the Colorado Rising Signature Gathering Training. You're now ready to be assigned petitions. Thank you very much for watching and listening. We realize that we just covered a lot of rules and regulations, and we do this to be completely in compliance with the laws and to make sure that every signature that you collect counts. We really appreciate your support and your efforts to pass this vital initiative. Together, we will protect Colorado's communities. Thank you and good luck.